Okay? Now, many people don't like division, all right? Well, we're going to take care of that in two ways. Number one, the integer part should be no problem. But the second part is we're going to learn to approach division as a fraction. That's why we actually started with fractions. If you can understand division as a fraction, it's going to take out the division part of it and allow you to simplify. And most of us are much better simplifiers than we are dividers. Okay? This allows us to kind of sidestep the problem and use something that's just as accurate, but yet just a little different method to end up at the same result. Okay? Instead of getting decimal answers, we'll just have fraction answers. And majority of the time, that's fine. There's no difference between the two. If they ask you to convert it into one or the other, we should know how to do that as well. But most of the time, there's no need to do that. Okay, so we'll just leave them as fractions. So let's take a look at a couple division problems. If I have negative 18 divided by 6, again, we need people to clearly identify themselves. So this negative 18 is being divided by a positive 6. Well, we talked about it a second ago. What can division be written as? It can be written as a fraction. So we're going to go ahead and change this into a fraction. Well, right here, we see that those signs don't match. We already know the answer is going to be negative. We go ahead and take the factors of each one. Well, there's some common factors. We just made this easier. Even if it is just to make the division itself easier, go to a fraction first. 2 over 2 is 1. 9 over 3 times 1 is 9/3. However, if you look at 9 over 3, now it's probably more manageable for us. We can tell that 9 is really 3 times 3, and 3 is really 3 times 1. Well, we have another matching factor. All that's left is 3 over 1, which is 3. Now, we know the signs that we said from the start. They didn't match. Bad day. Negative. There's our negative 3. Let's look at another one. Negative 24 divided by negative 6. Again, clearly identified, all set to go. The answer is never going to change. 24 divided by 6 is always going to be the same thing. Let's find out what it is. Let's go ahead and make it into a fraction. I already know what about my answer. It's going to be positive. They match. I'm good to go. It's a good day. It's a positive day. Okay? Now, 24 over 6, I could say 8 times 3. Okay? I could use any factors that I know. Don't let that be the problem. Put them down. 6 could be 3 times 2. Well, just like we learned in fraction multiplication, I can simplify diagonally just like I can simplify up and down. So this is a lot like canceling. Again, that's why we start with division, or fractions first, okay? So it can help us here with division. So I know that that value would be 1. Well, then I'm left with 8 over 2. Either you already know that 8 over 2 would simplify to 4, okay? Or we can figure that out. 8 could be made by 4 times 2. 2 could be made by 2 times 1. There's our matching factors. 1 and 4. We know 4 over 1 would be just 4. And there we are, okay? Really very simple. As long as you really nail down for yourself that multiplication is about matching. And just like we learned with fractions, division and multiplication really can kind of be turned into each other. So it must apply the same way for division, okay? Really is just about matching when we're thinking about multiplication or division. Always matching, M&Ms, okay? Let's try 2 more. We have a 21 divided by negative 7. He didn't tell me who he was. I'm going to ask him for his identification. He's going to tell me he's a positive. Makes it easier. Now I see what I'm working with. Make it into a fraction. I know that that's a negative answer right now because those did not match. Just train yourself and you'll have no problem with this. I can put that down there. It's waiting for the number value. 21 over 7 is always going to come out to be the same answer. Let's see what it is. 7 times 3, 7 times 1. There we go. There's our form of 1. We need to take that out. 1 times 3 over 1 is 3. Okay, 3 over 1, same as 3. There's our answer. All right, the last one I want to show you is 16 divided by 4. Well, let's suppose neither of them are clearly identified. Let's go ahead and identify them for ourselves. And we're already probably able to see that this is going to end up matching. It's going to be a positive answer, okay? So let's take a look. Let's go ahead and stack it up. There's that positive waiting for us. I know 16 is made of 8 times 2. Maybe that's the first one that jumped into my head, okay? 2 times 2 for 4. It doesn't matter. It's still going to work out. There's my form of 1 that I can go ahead and simplify out. 1 times 8 over 2 is going to be 8 over 2. But then I take a look a little closer at the 8 over 2. I can either know that that's going to simplify right to 4, or I can go ahead and just work it through. 8 could be 4 times 2. 2 could be 2 times 1. There we go. 4 over 1. That's 4. And that's our our integer division. Don't forget, make division into a fraction. Make it easier for yourself. And this is really going to pay off when you begin to have fractional answers throughout your more advanced math career. Because of what a lot of people run into is things like 6 over 12 as the problem. Maybe it's negative, maybe it's positive, so we know that this is a negative answer, but a lot of people will say 6 divided by 12 is 2. That's a mistake that's just waiting to happen. They know it's not actually 2 if they would stop themselves and kind of go in the right order and make it a fraction. But if they don't slow themselves down and kind of get away from some bad habits, it's hard to resist that urge. So let's take a look and see what it really should be. Well, the better I get, I should use the largest factors possible. And I can use the 6's in this case. That's the common factor, the greatest common factor between these numbers. So let's try that. 6 over 6 is 1. 1 times 1 over 2. 1 times 1/2 is always going to be 1/2. So instead of being 2, the answer is really a half, negative half in this case. Now a lot of you say, oh, what's the big deal? Well, if I take half of $100, okay, compared to $200, it's starting to become a big deal, and imagine beyond that. So there's quite a big difference between half of something and 2 of something. So keep that in mind when you go through. That's just another reason to use fractions to help you with your division. Don't forget, multiplication and division, it's all about matching when you're working with integers.